Hey everybody, this week is shaping up to be about aspect ratios. Hey David, in an earlier video you mentioned aspect ratios in relationship to 120 film formats. What is an aspect ratio? Okay, good question. An aspect ratio is simply the shape of your image. So let's take a look at a few of those. So aspect ratio is simply the shape that your image takes. Here are four common film aspect ratios. In black, this is 35 millimeter digital full frame, or APS-C, and it is 36 millimeters by 12 millimeters, or 3:2. 36 is 12, 12, and 12, to 2, 12, and 12. 12 times 3, 36, 12 times 2, 24. 3:2 is your standard full frame aspect ratio. If you jump up to medium format, now you have a whole world of possibilities. You can go 645, which is 6 centimeters by 4.5 centimeters. So 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. 645 is 4:3. In practical applications, 645 and 35 millimeter have basically the same aspect ratio. 20 millimeters goes into 63 times, goes into 45, 2 and a little bit more, with the way that film actually the images actually lay out on the film plane. Most 645 images are actually like 55 by 40, which is pretty close to the exact aspect ratio of 35 millimeter. At any rate, if you go to medium format 6 by 6, that would be, so 645 is this blue line here, this blue box. 6 by 6 would be this red line, a perfect square. 6 by 6 is also called 1:1. Over 6, down 6. Every time you go over 1, you go down. So 1:1, it's a square. 3:2, 4:3 so far. The last most common one is 6 by 7. So it'd be like going over, down 6 and over 7. And that's this green line right here. Now what this means is you can use different aspect ratios to do things creatively. Different aspect ratios allow you to frame subjects differently. They have different standard framing rules and practices for what makes images look really good. So if you can learn how to use different aspect ratios in your images, regardless of your actual native format, if you want to use 35 millimeter or full frame and crop it down to one of these sizes, learning how to use an aspect ratio to accomplish a specific framing objective or image goal is going to give you a pretty powerful tool in your photo editing arsenal. There's also another aspect ratio worth mentioning, and that's the video aspect ratio, which is 16:9. 16:9 is the standard video ratio, aspect ratio right now, and that's represented by this extended black box, but it is this whole thing. 16:9 is long and skinny compared to some of these other ones. It's a really good aspect ratio for panoramas if you're talking about a photographic construction, whereas some of these other ones are well suited to general photography, portraits, macros, and so forth. So if you're doing video, you're going to be experiencing 16:9. Now that said, in a video, if you can change your aspect ratio to a different aspect ratio, you can really create some interesting effects. Look at Batman Begins, or Batman, the third one in the series. And those both have a lot of aspect ratio changes. Interstellar has a lot of aspect ratio changes, and what happens, they're very subtle, but if you pick up on them, you'll see that they have a specific meaning for what's going on in the context of the film. They help create a mood to the scene that it's being used in. So these are basic aspect ratios. They allow you to control framing and composition differently and give you some options that you can use to create specific image objectives if you know how to use them well.